Okay, so I wanted to do a quick video and show how to model the Sendai Mediatheque. Not in huge detail, but just kind of the basic geometry of it. This project here by Ito. And essentially that's the kind of structure of it. So the whole building is a series of horizontal planes, which are the floor plates, and then these kind of vertical tube-like structures, which are also the columns, basically, that hold the building up. And you can see there kind of how they move through the entire building from bottom to top. And so these are obviously, like in the building, they're kind of these diagrid steel structures. And what we want to do is kind of model, but if you look at them closely, they are, they're kind of slightly tapering in and out, a lot like, this type of surface, like a hyperboloid surface. So I want to show you how to model that, essentially. So over here in Rhino, not sure where my 0 is, but here we go. So what I want to do is bring in some of these plans. I've got each floor plan. And then I could kind of stack them up. You have to bring them in one at a time in Rhino. So drag it in, go picture, and we could kind of line them up. And if we, so I'll draw a rectangle for, like the basically boundary of one of these. That should give me a way to line up the successive ones. I'll just line up one edge, type in scale, go to the other edge. Which I'm not sure that's what I want. Yeah. This line? I think so. All right. Okay. And then I'll bring in maybe one more just to demonstrate. Find that. So what I could do is also grab a section of this thing. You can see in the kind of side view images of this building that not all the floor to ceiling heights are the same. So if you wanted to actually go ahead and place these on top of each other, you'd have to start kind of bringing in a section to figure out what the floor to ceiling height is from each level to the next. But copy this rectangle one more time. Sweet. All right. So I could start to use these rectangles as a reference to bring to line up my various floor plans. So I'll snap it first to the first floor plan and move it up a bit. Same thing with this guy. Up a bit. And you can pretty clearly see where the columns are in the plan. So we could start to trace out some of these circles. And you can kind of get a sense. So I'm just hiding each one in succession of how they're either shifting or, getting smaller or broader from one floor to the next. So what I would probably do is you could study the 3D model as well to kind of figure out where it goes in and out. But what you want to do is trace out the circle, essentially, of where this thing is. I have just drawn that, not where I wanted to. All right. Kind of line them up. And once you got a couple of those going, copy this one and scale it. That. And then you can kind of figure out which ones need to connect to which ones. So the way to model this kind of surface, if we were doing it in just kind of a basic one curve to the next type way, just kind of demonstrate here, I'll make a copy of this one. So if I drew a line, I mean, obviously I know I can loft between these two edges and make a tube, basically a cylindrical tube. I could also like draw a curve and kind of revolve it around my two profile lines. Or I'm going to I could draw a line. And so that line is going straight up and down, right? In order to do kind of what I want to do, I actually need for this, in other words, in order to get that kind of hyperboloid shape where it's getting a little skinnier in the middle, I basically need to shift that point where this line is hitting around one of the circles, like along one of the circles. So once I've shifted that point around, then I can pretty easily just go and revolve. We can revolve it. Center point. Start angle 0 and angle 360. There you go. So that's actually a very subtle one, but you can see actually that it's kind of making this funnel-like shape. Make it much further so you can see better. Try that one more time. So I'll use the revolve command. Again, I'm just using the center point of each of my circles as my center axis. Start angle 0, end angle 0. We want it to go all the way around. And there you have it. So you could kind of do each of them like that. Just draw a line. And again, you could refer to the elevation or the section to kind of get what the right twist angle is. And I think that what you'll find is that, you know, some of these lines are in fact the hyperbolic paraboloid line, which is why it looks like it's kind of twisted. That's what gives it that kind of, you know, funnel-like shape. So yeah, in order to do the same thing over here, again, because these circles are not perfectly aligned, as you can see, they're kind of shifting left and right, like what you see in the building a little bit. So in order to do it, we're going to draw a line the same way. So we'll draw a line from some point on this circle and then kind of move it along the curve on the next circle. But instead of revolving, because that would just give us a circle that goes around some axis, or a perfectly symmetrical tube that goes around an axis, what I want to do is sweep 1. So sweep 1, I'm sorry, not sweep 1, sweep 2. Sweep 2. So that'll allow me to select 2 rails. So I'll select one circle as my first rail and the other as my second. Then it'll ask me for my sweep shape, that's my line. And then, so it's kind of like, you know, create a surface along the path between these two circles, these rail curves, that follows that tilted line. Okay? And there you have it. So now you have this kind of like sheared tube shape. And you can kind of work your way up, going from one circle to the next. 2. And yeah, develop again, we just want to do the surface basically. Yeah, so you know, you can kind of work your way on each floor and model this way. I would recommend bringing in a section as well to kind of figure out how much it's tapering and how much it's kind of shifting. Also, the floor to ceiling height, of course, is important. But yeah, so that's that'll end this video.